Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're talking about our beautiful ZBEC network crypto. Now, you know me, I am super high on this crypto. In this video, ladies and gentlemen, we will be going over the basics. We will be discussing the recent price action, the bigger time frame, and where I still think ZBEC will go in the near short term future. Now, I don't know why I spoke in a different accent. Sometimes, if you guys notice, my accent just changes all of a sudden. I don't know why it happens, but we're leaving that because you know what? It's life ain't that serious at the end of the day. Anyways, let's just jump right into this. So we can obviously see the last few days we have just been selling off, right? It's been no secret, right? We had to make a choice on the 9th/10th, and crypto decided to go down. And ever since then, we just been trading lower and lower. And pretty much, I mean, as of right now, there's been no real reversal signs until maybe literally right now, right? Until literally right now. And the reason why I say this, ladies and gentlemen, is because we got all the noise. If we got all the noise, we can see that we have been consistently creating lower and lower highs. You can see if I just, for example, take, this arrow, we can see we have one over here. We have, boom, another one over here at 0.0051. I'm going to try to draw it. We have another one at 0.00511. Then we have another one at 0.0049. We have one at 484. We have one at 47. And we can just see we've consistently been going lower and lower. Now, I will say, there is some potential right now because obviously it is very hard to say because we need to see a little bit of confirmation. Usually we want to see a nice 4-hour candle like go up pretty high and then see kind of slow sell-offs to really get that nice confirmation to then start bouncing off. But we can still see that this is actually the best 4-hour candle we've had in some time. Now, here's the deal, people, right? Here is the deal. On the 1-hour time frame, technically we already have broken structure, right? We have broken structure, we sold off, and we have been creating higher and higher and higher lows. So there's a decent chance that, this could very well be the reversal, right? We do have this resistance over here that we do have to battle. Would not be surprising if we do sell off, but even if we sell off and we bounce off the 0.0042, we could just see simply higher and higher lows, then pushing out through this area, which obviously the more time we have, the more confirmation, obviously, the more information we have, the easier it is to say. But yeah, right now, this is technically showing reversal signs. And this is the first time anywhere on the hourly, we've really switched up in momentum, right? You could debate down here, but, when we look at the 4 hours at this time frame, we can see it's clear as day. It was going to sell off further anyways. But yeah, there could be reversal signs. Here's the deal. The only thing I'm a bit skeptical about is Bitcoin, right? Because I do think there's a decent chance that we actually do sweep this 112K area to then reverse, right? There is obviously that chance where we could simply just go down, have this low here, create a higher low, and then just the reversal start happening, right? It could be as simple as that. But, Bitcoin is very sneaky, very tricky. We could see that when we did have this top in July, right, we could just see that, okay, yeah, we pretty much had a couple hours of celebration. We went a little bit higher to 124K, but we pretty much just swept this and reversed. So I'm looking for kind of the same thing to play out where, we still crash a couple percent in terms of Bitcoin. We still go down maybe like 2%, which 2% ultimately is not going to affect us too much. It really shouldn't. Especially for our beloved Zebec. This thing has been an absolute beast, right? Zebec has been an absolute monster. And even just in terms of pure areas where we could tap off of, we are technically in the zone where we talked about, right? We pretty much are in the 4 or 0.0042 zone. And we can see it was a decent rejection, right? It wasn't the craziest of rejections, but it was a decent rejection we got on the Tuesday. So we will be monitoring this. I do think there's going to be some type of reversals. And yeah, just be prepared, right? Just look at the chart yourselves and we will see obviously how we react off the zone. We'll see how Bitcoin pulls us down. Even if actually Bitcoin were to go down 2% and Zebec were even to technically spike, I don't think like we're not going. So I do think the reversals are in. I'm actually pretty confident the reversals are in. Now, does this mean this is it for the reversals completely and that we'll never visit this price again? No, not necessarily, because if Bitcoin and everything is going to be annoying for the next, let's say, until the end of August, even maybe halfway through September, we could see something where we just simply bounce up, go like this, come back one more time, consolidate, and then finally start bursting, right? That's the annoying thing. It's really all up to Bitcoin. It's really all up to how much money we're going to be getting in these markets. So obviously we'll be monitoring, but I do believe from the analysis, I mean, everything is showing reversal signs. So I'm calling it. It is starting to reverse. It is literally starting to reverse. I could literally see it. So I don't know why I'm going back and forth. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, when we go to something like the weekly, overall, we can see despite us selling off for 3 weeks, I know this candle is a little bit has more recency bias because we have actually just gone up the last few hours. I mean, like I said, this is a very nice 4-hour candle. We continue this momentum. In fact, we closed. If this 4-hour candle closes above this price point, even up, like I said, 0.00444 area, then that's like really big sign, because then when we do pull back, it most likely would just be something minor. It could dip below, do this, and then do something like that. So just be wary of that. Just be wary. But we can see, like, when we go to the weekly, we pretty much took 3 weeks worth of data to really just kind of be equal to 1 week worth of buying pressure. So the selling pressure is still very, very weak, right? There is no secret in that. The buying pressure, or sorry, the selling pressure is still very weak because it's pretty much taken almost the equivalent of 3 weeks to match 1 week of buying pressure. So, still super optimistic. I do think these times of it slowing down, it going sideways, is just a nice buying opportunity. Anyways, let's look at the market cap. Let's look at some of the basics. We can see, ladies and gentlemen, we are ranked 139 in the world, pretty much 400 million market cap, 20 million volume. When we go and look at the amount of holders, we can see, ladies and gentlemen, we have slowed down in getting the holders, but we're still averaging around 50 a day despite selling off. So that's good, right? That is good. I mean, it's always going to be, kind of like common sense. When things slow down, when things start selling off, bandwagon is a thing, confirmation bias is a thing, the growth does slow down. But the fact that we're still getting 50 holders a day on average, it is very, very nice, right? It's very nice to see 50 to 70. So we are still growing. I do expect to get a couple hundred holders a day once we do start pretty much going up. Look, ladies and gentlemen, ultimately the next step, unless something really happens with Bitcoin, is going to be, going to these all-time highs before we sell off. Like I said, there's always that chance where we do something like this. Bitcoin plays around a little bit, so we play around and then we finally go. But generally speaking, if you're looking at the bigger picture, then the next move is to be contesting these all-time highs, probably sell off a little bit, right? It would not surprise me if we sold off like 15 to 20%, kind of chill before we start pumping. Ultimately, that is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. I love you guys so much. Let me know if you've bought any Zebec during this time. Did you get in on the dips, on the lower prices? Let me know what your target this is. Speaking about targets, right? I did promise you guys a target. So, just in terms of simple Fibonacci tools, we'll take it from the relevant top to pretty much the relevant bottom. For me, I don't expect an aggressive expansion like this, but at least between 1.6 and 2.2 would be very, very realistic in terms of just pure fundamentals. So I would kind of expect for Zebec to get somewhere upwards of 1 cent. Like the next real move is hitting that 1 cent territory. Okay. Like, just remember that obviously if altcoin season starts happening and it shows that the next 2 months are going to be crazy, obviously the price is going to go higher. But if we're just moving up fundamentally and we're looking for a next leg, at the end of the day, we shouldn't really go past 2.2 in terms of the pure fundamentals. So yeah, I'm looking about a 2x, maybe a little bit more over the next couple of weeks if we're still going to be kind of slow and fundamental, which would put us around 800 million to a billion market cap coin, which is very, very nice, right? So seeing some type of rejection off of this zone over here would not surprise me if we eventually do that, right? Eventually go something like this, probably come back a decent amount, probably retest off these highs, depending how much time we have, depending where we are in the cycle. to then eventually have very, very, very big moves. Gotta remember, during altcoin season, the bursts are crazy, right? The bursts are crazy. A coin can go from 1 billion to 4 billion market cap in a single day. It can go from 1 billion to 20 billion market cap in a span of 2 weeks. It can go from 1 billion to 35 billion market cap in a span of a month. So it's crazy. It does get crazy. And if we have anything like last cycle where we are expecting more money, right, more volatility, and it's just going to be a bigger, better cycle, then expect Zebec to really perform this cycle. I know I said cycle multiple times. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I love you guys so, so much. Make sure to take care of yourself, brush your hair, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.